This video is all about consciousness. Specifically, we're going to cover the victor stage of consciousness. This is the middle stage of the 3 steps of human consciousness, the middle part of the journey. My name is Brent Michael Phillips. I am the founder and creator of the awakening dynamic system of energy healing and higher consciousness. And this is video number 5 of 9 on our series of consciousness. Big picture, this series is designed to give you an understanding of what the human journey of consciousness is. What are the different stages? How do we recognize them? What are the feelings, the emotions, the thought patterns that go with them? And in particular, how do we move through them more easily? How do we elevate our own consciousness and help others to move forward? Because we're all on a journey towards enlightenment. And so in the last video, we talked a lot about the victim stage of consciousness, which is 0 to 200 on the Hawkins scale. The next video is about the vehicle. That's the last stage, 500 to 1,000. But for right now, let's talk about the victor, which on the Hawkins scale is 200 to 499. And so the defining characteristic of the victor is this. Victors learn to become more powerful and to take action to get what they want out of life and to avoid what they don't. That's very different than the victim. The victim tends to think, what I do doesn't really matter. I'm just going to grab everything I can to feel good in the moment and not worry about it. And so we left off in the last video with pride. Pride is the highest level of the victim. You're ready to graduate, people. And pride turns into courage. Courage is the 200 vibration. That's the bottom of the victor scale. And so it's very interesting. In the last video, I used the example of the United States Marine Corps, which is suggested in Hawkins' books, and told the story of my friend Mike, who turned his life around and made things work when he joined the Marines. And so I think it's very interesting that 2 of the things that really got drilled into him when he was in boot camp was pride and then courage. Because let's face it, people, to go floating in a boat, to go land on some beach where there's enemies shooting at you and your friends are dying around you, that takes a heck of a lot of courage. Wow, right? So it's not about just getting out of pride, it's also moving into courage. And so I'll put up a little graphic for you right here. And the journey of the victor goes something like this. Courage moves to neutrality, to willingness, to acceptance, and then to reason. The highest part of the victor is reason. And these stages take you from 200 to 499 on the Hawkins scale. And one of the things that's really interesting is this. Victims are relatively easy to spot. You can tell by their body language, their actions, the words they choose. It's pretty easy for most of us to distinguish the victim from the victor, because a victor realizes that they do have some power over their life and they better take action to get what they want. And so in terms of our physical bodies, the victor stage is roughly being a teenager up to middle age. And so what happens? Well, first we're born as babies. We're all victims then, right? We grow up. We learn to walk. We learn to talk. We learn to do math, right? We go to school. We get knowledge. We learn skills. Maybe you get a degree. Maybe you learn a trade. Maybe you get married. But all these things are about learning to become more powerful, to take action to get more of what you want and less of what you don't. So victors are all about making money, being stronger, being smarter, being more efficient, being more capable, building a better mousetrap, having a more attractive partner, living longer, owning a big house, driving a sports car, whatever your thing is, right? And I want to emphasize There's nothing wrong with any stage of this journey. It's awesome to be a victor. That's great. But what you'll find is the victor tends to think that he who dies with the most toys wins. And for better or for worse, this seems to be the dominant consciousness of most of our world today. And when I say dominant consciousness, what I mean is sort of the way people in that society tend to think about things. That the victor sees themselves as potentially being powerful, and if they can figure out the right things to do, they can have a better life. The victor sees life as largely a competition of separate beings to accumulate scarce resources. In other words, more money, bigger house, bigger car, more sex, longer life, less pain. And that's why I say there's nothing bad about that. Those are all great things. And if you look at my teachings, my programs, about half of it is designed to help you be a better victor, to make more money, to heal your body, to find love, to find purpose, to develop intuition, to understand life, right? That's all great. And by dominant consciousness, this is what I mean, that's how most people see it. In American culture, at least in the 20th, 21st century, is quite victor-centric. We tend to think that if we can just work harder, be smarter, get up a little earlier, learn a little more, we can do better for ourselves. And there is some truth to that. And again, being a victor is great, but so is being a vehicle, so is being a victim. It's all beautiful and wonderful, because it only works because we have people at every stage, just like physical life. And remember, we're all born as victims, and children are kind of victims. For the most part, their parents or adult guardians decide what they wear, what they eat, when they go to bed, where they go to school, all these things, right? Most children don't have a lot to say, at least when they're young. But the ego develops. And then by the time we're teenagers, we tend to start to have pretty firm opinions. One of the things I loved about my son when he was little is he loved to do anything with daddy. Whatever movie or sports or show I was watching, he was down to watch them with daddy, right? Wherever I was going, he wanted to go with his daddy. It was awesome. Now, as I make this video, he's 12 years old. His ego has developed quite nicely, thank you, and he has very firm opinions. Most of the time, he's not interested in being with his parents anymore. He wants to be on Discord or playing video games or watching YouTube, right? That's okay. That's natural and healthy. So as teenagers, we learn to become victors. We develop opinions, taste, preferences. We learn how to become powerful, and that's great. But there is a big dark side, and I want to share it with you right here in this video, as well as giving you some tips on how to move through it more easily and avoid the pitfalls. But first, I want to ask a question. In the comments below, if you have any questions, please, I'd love to hear from you. I hope you know I aim to personally answer every comment in all of my YouTube videos. Who can you think of, maybe a fictional character or someone from history, who was an amazing victor? And here's the thing. Victors aren't complainers for the most part. When they do something and it doesn't work, they learn from their mistakes and try again and aim to do better next time. So a victim that starts a company and it goes out of business goes, wah, I'm a failure. It's not my fault. It's my partner. It's the city. It's the location, right? And they often give up. A victor would go start a company and it doesn't work out. And they go, gee, what did I do wrong? How can I do better next time? That's the mark of the victor, right? And so I'll throw out a couple characters from fiction that I think are great victors. If you like the show SEAL Team, the team leader, Jason Hayes, I think is an amazing victor, played by David Boreanaz. Great show. You know, I like it, right? It's kind of a guy show, but I love it. He's never complaining, all about, I will do whatever it takes to get the job done. I will stay up. I will work hard. I will sacrifice. I will suffer, whatever it takes. That's a great victor. I've also been watching the show Outlander on Netflix. And Jamie Fraser, one of the main characters, amazing victor. He's a warrior. He's a farmer. He's a businessman. He's a lover. He's been in prison. He's been tortured. He's been a noble. He's been wealthy. He's lost everything. He's almost died. He's had children. He's lost children. And he never stops moving forward. Is not a complainer or a whiner. He simply does the best he can in every moment. Now, I'm picking fictional characters because I don't want this to get personal, right? So I'd love to hear from you. Who's a great victor? Ideally, a fictional character or someone from history. Let me know. That would be great. While you're down there, hit like, hit subscribe. Click the little bell if you want notifications. This would be awesome because I really want to get this information out there. And the more you like, the more you subscribe, the more people YouTube shows this video to, the more lives we can change together. So thank you, not just for me, but for everyone in the future. There might be some people out there that really, really need this. And the only way they're going to get it is if you hit those links. So awesome. Thank you for that. So let's talk for a second about the dark side of being a victor. So first dark side to being the victor is most people in our world and most of the cultures in our modern world do not even know there's something beyond the victor. It's all we see. Most of us are aware there's victims and aware there's victors, right? Very few people know that there is a whole stage of consciousness beyond that. This is why I said earlier, victors tend to think he who dies with the most toys wins, who has the longest life, who makes the most money, who leaves the biggest legacy, or has the most children, or publishes the most books, or owns the biggest yacht, or whatever it is, right? I want to emphasize the victor is the middle stage of the journey. It's a really important one. Why? Technology, our physical sustenance, is entirely dependent on people being victors. Inventors, engineers, musicians, teachers. Victors move our life forward in these practical ways. After all, if we go back in time, not that long, most people were spending most of their time in a struggle to accumulate enough food just to survive the day. You can only do so much spiritual study when you're devoting 15 hours a day to survival, right? So the victors are really important. They grow the food, they build the bridges, they do surgeries when we're going to die, all those things, right? They raise children properly. Being a victor is amazing. Just know it's not the end of the road. It's not a competition. It's really not. And here's what you'll find. The victor is driven largely by the ego. Not a bad thing. It's just how it works, right? The ego lies to you. The ego will tell you if you can just make more money or buy a big house or get a better job or have a more attractive partner or heal your pain or whatever it is, then you'll be okay. Because to borrow a little metaphor from Michael Singer, who I just really love, more on him in the vehicle stage, the way most of us see life is that I'm in here somewhere, right? And I'm not okay for all these reasons. I'm worried about my job. I'm fighting with my wife. I'm worried about my kid or the world or the economy or my car is broken down or all these things, life, right? And we think, gosh, I'm not okay right now. But if I can just change the world around me, I could be okay. Again, if I had more money, better job, owned a house, right? That's the lie of the ego. Again, these are all great things. Make more money, buy a house, get married, heal your pain, please. I would love to help you with that, 100%. Just don't think it will make you okay. We talked in video number 2 on this series about psychological inflation. This is one of the traps of the victor. Thinking that if I could just have this thing, right? I remember thinking in high school, I was so in love with this girl. And I thought, oh, geez, if she could just be my girlfriend, everything would be okay. Yeah, it felt great for a while. We were together for over 3 years. It was a great ride. It was so important for me to know her. We grew together. She was my first kiss, on and on, right? But after the first falling in love started to fade, having her as my girlfriend didn't make my life perfect. I still had issues with school and with money and my car and, blah, 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 right? Same thing with money, same thing with pain. There's nothing wrong with healing your pain or making more money. It's just don't think it's going to make you okay on the inside for more than a short time. It's a drug-like short-term effect, psychological inflation. And if you think more money is going to solve all your problems, here's what's going to happen. I hope you make the money. I really do. It's part of your journey. I would love to help you with that. It will make you feel better for a short time. Then usually 6 to 9 months, you'll be right back to how you feel on the inside, right? I'm not okay, but I need more money. It's like a drug addiction. And so just know the ego cannot solve the problem. No amount of love or money or sex or fame or YouTube subscribers or Instagram likes or whatever you're using today, right? I don't know when you're watching this. I'm making this in 2023. I hope the world is a better place when you're watching this in the future. I really do. It's not going to make you okay, not over the long term. Why? The victor is not the end of the road, people. It's the middle step. The highest level of consciousness, the vehicle we'll talk about in the next video, that's where you start to be okay on the inside, no matter what's happening on the outside. You can go, hey, I got a problem, right? I broke a tooth. I'm in pain. I can't afford the surgery. Maybe that's your reality, but you're okay because you know that you are not the man, the woman, the physical being, the mind, the ego, the soul, the spirit. More on that later. That's the process of awakening. And so the trap of the victim is under responsibility. Does that make sense? That's kind of easy to see, right? They're not taking life seriously. They're not being responsible. They're just doing whatever they want in the moment because it doesn't matter what they do. Just grab everything you can, right? I'm not saying everyone is like this, but I've had some friends, a girlfriend, family members who grew up under the Soviet Union or in Eastern Europe. There seems to be more of a victim mentality. Many of them seem to have this mentality that just grab what you can, manipulate the government, game the system. Don't worry about being honest or helping people because what you do doesn't matter. Just grab everything you can for yourself and your family and screw everyone else. Now, I'm not saying everyone from those countries is like that. No. There were some incredible victors and vehicles. Some of the most brilliant, most amazing people I've ever known grew up under communism. So it's not all of them. But that seemed to be a big part of the culture, at least in the people I've known. And so the trap of the victim is under responsibility. The trap of the victor is the opposite, over responsibility. As a victor, you're making yourself accountable and stressing out over things that you cannot control. You bought some stock. Does it go up or down? Oh God, it has to go up or I'm screwed, right? You didn't get the promotion. Oh God, I'm screwed. The person you really like isn't interested in dating you. Oh God, I'm screwed. Maybe your child didn't get into the college they really want or didn't get the job they want. Oh God, I'm screwed. So I want you to see that. The trap of the victor is over responsibility. It makes us neurotic, fills us with anxiety. Why do you think something like 40% of Americans have chronic anxiety? We got victoritis. We think it's my fault that I'm not a millionaire. It's my fault I don't have a perfect body. It's my fault that I'm not in love with my spouse or whatever it is. And so we're taking control of things that we cannot control. And we're going to have a whole video on how to reconcile that later in the series. I just want you to wake up right now to see this is what's going on. And again, being a better victor will not solve the problem on its own. It's worth doing. Be a better victor. Make more money. Live longer. Be healthier. Absolutely. Heck yeah. But it won't make you okay on the inside. It won't dissolve your anxiety. You just get a little break from it, just like drugs. If you've got a lot of problems, you could drink a lot, take certain drugs. Guess what? Your problems go away for 2 hours or 4 hours or something, right? Then you wake up tomorrow, except now you're withdrawal or hangover, and you have your problems. And so you take more drugs, more booze, but you need more than the day before. Vicious circle, just like taking a loan from the mob. You'll get what you need, but you're going to pay a steep price over time. I would encourage everyone, only if you're called to it, to move through the victor stage to the highest level of reason, and then be willing to let it go, to graduate, to become a vehicle. And there's only one way in my knowledge and experience that happens, through the process of awakening, which is about a radical redefinition of how you think about what you are and how life works. Cool stuff, huh? Let me finish this video with a real life story of someone who was a high-level victor, but found that it didn't scratch that itch. It didn't do what they want. It's a story about a criminal. I'm sure you've heard of him, El Chapo. Mexican drug cartel kingpin, owned most of the meth business in the United States, made a ridiculous amounts of money, billions and billions and billions of dollars through his drug empire. And this is how I understand his story, that the American government was putting a lot of pressure on the Mexican government to arrest him and throw him in prison. And at some point, they did. But because he was so wealthy, so well connected, he lived in essentially a luxury prison. He had a really nice bed. He had air conditioning. He had every cable channel. He had a big screen TV. He had video games. He got massages. He ate gourmet meals. They had strippers and all this kind of cool stuff, right? He had all these luxuries, but he was still in prison. And a lot of us are going, man, that sounds awesome, right? I hear you. I hear it. It sounds great, right? But it was only great for a while. After a certain point, the gourmet food, the video games, the massages, the strippers, whatever your thing is, wasn't enough. He wanted real freedom. So, long story short, he broke out of prison. And he was free for a while, and then he got caught and extradited to the United States and thrown in a supermax. And so, I'm not saying this to scare you. I just want to emphasize that all the luxuries and all the outside stuff will never make you okay on the inside. You feel great for a while. The only way to get real freedom is with the inner game. Graduating to become the vehicle. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next video. I hope you loved this. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please share. Until next time, please take care and namaste.